Welcome to Ray Reads, a podcast where I talk about the books I am currently reading. For this episode of Ray Reads, I will be discussing the book Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. So, the very first thing that I would like to discuss in the novel is one of the greatest challenges that Katniss faces: defining her own identity. Who is Katniss without basic survival as her top priority? Ever since the death of her father, Katniss has been the breadwinner, the provider for her family. Survival and love for her family are what motivate her. And now that she has returned home victorious from the Hunger Games, Katniss is granted the luxury of being able to provide for her loved ones without having to work for it anymore. While this is a good thing, Katniss struggles to discover her purpose in life now. She continues to hunt illegally as a hobby and a means to assist Gale's family. I think that this struggle to find herself is one of the greatest reasons behind her romantic indecisiveness. It is especially difficult for Katniss to come to terms with her feelings for Peeta. President Snow demands for her to play up the star-crossed lovers act in order to suppress the rebel movement she ignited in the games. When this fails, and the third quarter quell is announced, Katniss is resolved to be his protector this time around. She makes a pact with Haymitch to ensure Peeta's survival. Katniss re-enters the games with a single goal: to save Peeta. The ending is all the more tragic because Peeta is left behind. So many of the other victors fought to save Peeta for Katniss. Finnick Odair gave him the kiss of life after Peeta hit the force field and his heart stopped. Poor old Mags sacrificed herself so that Finnick could rescue Peeta from the toxic fog. Even the District 6 morphlings gave up their lives, saving Peeta from the monkey mutts. The saddest thing, though, is the fact that this is mostly done for Katniss rather than for Peeta's own sake. Peeta's point of view in these books breaks my heart. I would have loved to have chapters from Peeta's perspective. In fact, there are many characters in this book that I would love to read more about. I want to learn exactly why these characters are who they are now. Joanna Mason's past is still a mystery, and I think that she is interesting enough to warrant her own prequel story about how she survived the Hunger Games and what her life was like in District 7. I especially would love a prequel for Finnick, his victory, life in District 4, and his love story with the victor Annie Cresta. And then, of course, there is the 50th Hunger Games, or the second quarter quell. Who was Haymitch Abernathy before the games? It would be interesting to see his games firsthand, to see Katniss's mom as a girl and her friend Maisie Donner. Maisie Donner was Madge's, the mayor's daughter, aunt, on her mother's side. In the first book, it was Madge who gifted Katniss the Mockingjay pin, not Greasy Say like in the movie. Now, Madge got this pin from her aunt Maisie after she died in the Hunger Games. I think that Madge deserves more credit for providing Katniss with this symbol. It was a very intentional move on Madge's part, and it pains me that she doesn't receive any real recognition. Cinna is another character who I think deserves more appreciation. Without Cinna and his fantastic designs, Katniss would have had a more difficult time turning into a symbol for the rebels. It is a damn shame that Cinna had to die before we could learn more about him. What inspires Cinna? Why is he so different from the other citizens of the capital? He is such an influential character to the plot. So it is strange that we are being robbed of his entire backstory. Anyway, I am going to move on now. The concepts of the Hunger Games and the Quarter Quells intrigue me. It can be easy to forget that all of the tributes in the games are children, and that the victors participating now in the 75th Hunger Games are the children who survived. The scene where the pre-game interviews were held and the victors spoke out against the cruelty and injustice was wonderful, particularly when all 24 of the victors held hands in a moment of solidarity. I absolutely am in love with the symbolism of bread in this trilogy. Bread means life and hope. Gifting bread is an act of love. In these books, a loaf of bread is never just bread. It is neat how bread is utilized as a means of communications during the games here. Now, I want to circle back to Madge. This book makes me extremely angry with how the movies completely erased her character. Madge is vital to this story because of the pin, of course, but also because she's Katniss's friend. Their friendship blossomed after Katniss returned a victor. Katniss can rely on Madge for quiet companionship. With Madge, there are no romantic expectations to drown in. They have a natural, quiet understanding. I truly regret that we do not have much of a chance to see the friendship between Katniss and Madge progress further. I think it would have been beautiful to see these two different girls learning how to confide in one another. Madge is a wonderful character, and it saddens me to see all of this wasted potential. The ending to this novel never fails to make me at least want to cry. They abandoned my boy, Peeta! And before Katniss discovered that little fact, she had planned to save Peeta by using a syringe to kill him. She was determined that no matter what, Peeta would not fall into the Capitol's hands. It is tragic that Katniss was powerless to save Peeta in the end, despite her pact with Haymitch and all the victors who fought and died to protect him. It infuriates me that Peeta was not considered essential to the rebellion. He could have been one of their most valuable assets. Peeta is so smart, and he has such a way with words. unlike Katniss, who stumbles through speeches and interviews. Peeta understood the dehumanizing nature of the Hunger Games long before Katniss did. While Katniss is caught up in survival, Peeta contemplates morality and ethics. The rebels do not value Peeta enough, so they abandon him. Now the Capitol can use and abuse Peeta. I enjoy how this book launches Panem into war. The districts are uniting, stepping up to end the tyranny of the Capitol. President Snow has a target on his back, and the Capitol is going to burn. The stakes are getting higher and higher. This book just might be my favorite out of the trilogy.